I'll introduce myself first before the panelists. My name is Raj Katecha. I'm formerly with Content Next Media. We used to cover content issues for CEOs. So we'd cover major stories on MySpace, the record labels. We had 4 websites. Content Next Media was sold to The Guardian, so I was working at The Guardian all of last year. And the thing that, I guess that qualifies the professional part, and the urban part is I've been an urban music promoter and DJ for the last 10 years. But enough about me. We have some stellar, high caliber panelists on the panel today. So we'll let them introduce themselves. First, Raoul.
Oh yes, that light is the reason why most people wear sunglasses indoors, I think. My name's Raoul. I'm the founder of a company called Exposure. We're a marketing and creative agency based in London and the States. I'm not going to try and qualify why I'm here and what my credentials are to talk about urban, but hopefully I'm going to provide some useful insight into how big brands view the urban market and kind of what their take is on either being a part of it or participating in it or not, for that matter.
Evening everyone, I'm Lawrence Larty. I think I know a few of you in here. Thank you, little cheer at the back. I suppose I best describe myself as a journalist, author, documentary maker. Just here to hopefully shed some insight into the urban music industry, marketing, what Val touched upon, and just generally, just trying to answer some questions. I suppose should just hand over to Sway.
Well, you've done it for me already. I'm Sway, and I'm a label owner, music publisher, rapper, everything that makes money, basically. An all-over entrepreneur, and yeah, that's it.
Let me just say on behalf of Noel Clark as well, as you know, he won the BAFTAs yesterday, so he's inundated with a number of different things to say, so he couldn't be here, but he sends his apologies. So before, thank you, round of applause for everyone. We will be saving the questions to the end, if that's okay with you guys. We naively put together a SWOT analysis, thinking that most people would know what a SWOT analysis is. There's nothing wrong if you don't know what one is. It's an analysis of basic business analytics tool to cover what the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are. That's why it's SWOT. Get it? Good. So we're going to be covering the strengths first, and it's going to be a very organic, natural conversation. We don't really know where it's going to go, but I think if we use those 4 things as a foundation, then that might create some dialogue, which hopefully will help with the networking later on. So Lawrence, first question to you. Tell me something good about the urban space, some of its strengths, the way you see it.
Okay, well, like things like tonight, networking. And I know it sounds really cliched, but to me that is the way to move business forward. And I think in this country we don't do enough of it, and there's a lot of lip service. And I spent some time working in the States, in Atlanta, and it's totally different to how it is here. And that's why I'm glad, say it now, well done Aaron for putting this on. And I think the strength is that we all can help each other in some capacity. And the strength of any business, but particularly urban, is that obviously more people working together for one common goal, and again I know it sounds cliched, means that other people are going to just progress in their chosen field. So, for example, there might be a designer, a stylist, photographer in here tonight. By a bit of networking and showcasing yourself, then obviously that's going to hopefully yield work and money. Because let's be honest, that's what it's all about. We're here just to talk, make friends, but we all want some sort of outcome. And as I said, even I've worked with Val before and Sway. It's that common thing of moving forward and working together for a common goal, and then helping each other out, so to speak. And I suppose that's the strength.
Sway, you as a recording artist, you've got a number of accomplishments, both sides of the pond, both in the UK and in the US. Where does the urban industry in the UK fit into the whole global economy of what's happening in the world, urban-wise?
I think now the UK are getting a lot more respect. Obviously, I'm over the moon right about now because from the urban side of things, Noel Clark got the BAFTA yesterday and Estelle won the Grammy. So it just goes to show that we're moving forward on every level. Even out here, we're getting more recognition than we were before. And as far as Americans concerned, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's a novelty on a lot of levels to a lot of people out there still. You know what I mean? But it's the more we push over here, the more we can do stuff over there, you know what I mean? Because they always the reason why so many American artists have reached out to me is because I've conquered my own territory. When they come over and people are asking them who's hot, who's doing what over, my name comes up a lot, and that's what's got me working with people like Akon, Chameleon, Lupe Fiasco, because they've come over here and heard of me. I didn't go over there as a nobody just trying to make it. So I think people sometimes get it twisted and they think that, you know, forget about Britain, let's just go to the US and try it. You have to remember people like Estelle, she was established over here before she went over. You know what I mean? Even, I'd say the only people who weren't fully established that really, when it smashed it, was Slick Rick and Flowetry. You know what I mean? They got more popular over there, but every other case is people doing their thing over here, getting to a certain level, and then furthering over there, and that's what I suggest everyone to do.
Networking, which Lawrence talks about, and the whole power of word of mouth, Sway talks about, I think is our biggest strength. I think it's one of the things that we don't do enough of. I think we, in a country that's relative to America, quite small and easy to kind of get across, and to find the amount of people that actually influence industries and other people, there's a small group of people you just need to kind of get together to kind of make a difference.
So I think in addition to that as well, we all acknowledge that the urban industry in this country, I mean there's some great strengths there, but we understand that the urban industry in this country is not perfect. Raul, what do you think some of the key inhibitors are for the urban industry, particularly with reference to working with other industries such as brands and getting involved and getting some budget from some of the high profile clients that you work with?
My biggest question, and I googled urban industry before I came here, is that there is no definition. And when it comes to big brands, they need really simple, easy to identify signposts. So for 10 years I ran a business. My business is now 16 years old, but for the first 10 years I kind of thought it was fine to not tell anyone what you did and let people discover it, and I always believed word of mouth was the best way to kind of grow. After 10 years we grew to a size where we couldn't grow anymore because we actually needed to kind of fall in line with tradition. And so we needed to signpost our business. We needed to start calling it things like marketing, creative, PR, events, and blah, 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 the list goes on. And I think for the urban industry, when you go online and try and Google the urban industry, imagine going to a marketing director at Coca-Cola saying, I'd like to come and talk to you about great opportunities to get your brand talking to the urban industry. This guy goes away, Googles a few key words I've talked to him about. He will be none the wiser. He'll actually be so twisted up in looking, you know, there'll be kind of clothing sites and there'll be music things, and I think part of it is about how do we get our industry, how do we get the kind of sector sort of packaged up in a way that's easier to kind of present to people and feel like a place people want to be invited into, rather than a place that feels like a, you know, full of kind of barriers and language kind of issues. I don't mean that literally.
I'll ask you a direct question. What is the biggest opportunity for the urban industry at the moment, whether it be the creative community or the commercial community or events organisers and so on?
I don't have the answers to that question. I wish I did. I'd be leaving right now and sorting it out while I'm in my office this evening. No, the biggest opportunity, I mean, I think, you know, Sway referenced some of the, you know, highlights and amazing accomplishments that, you know, UK artists and UK talent is now starting to kind of, sort of gain outside of the UK. I think sometimes we've got to get our house in order in the UK first. I think it's easy to look at America. I mean, I've worked, you know, the foundations of my business were actually very much working in the urban industry. You know, we launched a boot brand for high-tech sports called Magnum Boots, and we only ever worked with urban artists. You know, we worked with Cypress Hill and Snoop and Janet Jackson, a whole bunch of people very, very early on. And that was on the back of working with urban artists, American, British, didn't matter where they came from, that then secured us endorsement with British artists like Take That and the Spice Girls that turned this brand into actually a very, very successful brand. And I think, in a way, the UK needs, you know, we need to kind of be more focused about kind of what's going on here. How do we make our industry more attractive and more magnetic outside of the UK? There's always going to be opportunities for our artists and our talent to go abroad. You know, Sway is an example of that, there's many others as well. But I think sometimes you've got to think about what are we doing at home to get our house in order. And I mean, I think sometimes going beyond the urban industry, just looking at the city we live in, yeah, London has traditionally been the most influential city in the world when it comes to things like street culture. You go to America and talk to people about street culture, they have a very different definition of what street culture is to what we have. In terms of fashion, as a simple example, street culture was kind of born from the 60s in Carnaby Street, the 70s punk, you know, the list goes on, and look at kind of what's happening in London now, kind of out areas like Shoreditch. I mean, we've got a lot of assets in the UK that we can package up and actually use as something to make us more relevant and, you know, inviting to other people overseas. But I think we've got to learn how to do that in the UK, in our key cities in the UK, not just in London, first and foremost.
Leading on from that, Lawrence, you're a very accomplished journalist and thinker. It's good that you're sat in the middle because you've obviously got the business side on one side and the creative side, although I know you're an entrepreneur as well, Sway. My question to you is, who is it who's leading the direction of the commercialization of the urban culture at the moment? Is it the money, the program directors, the spenders and the people with the budget, or is it the creative community and the people?
You know, young people dictate, you know, what's hot, and, you know, even in here, you know, there's loads and loads of decent, you know, tastemakers, and, you know, even from what Val was saying, you know, there's certain people at the top who will make those decisions, like the program directors at various radio stations, you know, and we could argue and say it's not fair, and you know, it isn't, because they're the ones making the key decisions. But from young people in this room, we say what's hot, and again, from what Sway was saying, you know, we've got our own steam in this country, not keeping it London-centric, all over the UK, where we're dictating fashion, music, new trends, and it's just, I mean, you know, it's just a case of getting all that together, packaging it up so brands understand it, and then exporting it, because we've done it before, you know, with, you know, Soul to Soul and all other things in the earlier 80s. So, kind of, I know I've deviated a bit, but back to your question, I mean, I think young people dictate what is hot, and obviously DJs, stylists, many people in this room. The problem is, the people at the top, and I'll say it, and I know there's some of them here, don't have a clue, and that's programmed. Thank you. Yeah,
What if you want to applaud?
and that's you know, I'm not slagging anyone off because I know it's being filmed, you know. But that's various program directors, that's various people working at major companies, and you know, because people are probably scared, you know, they want to play it safe and whatever. But we're in a position here where, you know, we need to say, look, you need to get this on the playlist. I'm not an artist, but I've got an ear for music, and there's certain things I hear which I think, well, I should be on the playlist at whatever station, but you know, you won't see the light of day because, you know, people got no foresight.
Is tonight an exercise or a first step, you think, for the UK in terms of people in this room taking control back?
Listen, yeah, there's power in this room, and that's not just, again, just to say it, there is. But I think, yeah, you're right, it's a step. It's a case of, you know, us, back to Val's point, getting this together, you know, knowing what we are, knowing what we stand for, and then trying to you know, get this talent and get our business across, so it doesn't just, you know, it's not just in the UK, we export it.
Sway, moving on to some of the threats of this industry. What do you think are some of the threats to the urban industry, being one of the prominent figures in the UK?
Like what Lawrence was saying about the people at the top not understanding, you know what I mean, not having a clue. Sometimes I feel as though it's not their fault, because they have people around them. Like when you're at a certain level in the industry, you've often been in it for a certain amount of years, and so you know people from other companies who have been in it for a certain amount of years, so they form alliances. So someone who's the head of Universal might know the head of Radio 1, and someone like me who's trying to come up on an independent level might not even know how to get to these names, you know what I mean? Because then you got to go through the DJs, and they might not tell you who's at the top, and you might not have access to them. So they only know what's going on amongst each other. They don't know what's going on in the streets of Tottenham, or what's the hot new dance or the hot new group, you know what I mean? Unless that group makes themselves so hot that someone from the bottom of the company signs them and passes them up. And often you have people at the bottom of the company not really showing people at the top what's good, often because maybe they're scared, or maybe they just want to stick to formulas that they know are going to work. Like A&Rs are, you know, they don't have no real incentive to try new things, because they've got a formula. Put a girl band together, that's going to work. You put a male band together, that's going to work. But if you try and sign a rapper from South London, it's kind of, you know what I mean, it's kind of iffy, and they don't pass it up. So sometimes people like myself have got to make the music and create and take it to a level where it gets so high that we can't be ignored anymore. So I think a lot of the people who are at the top, I don't really blame them, because they don't know how they're going to find out what's going on in Tottenham They live in, you know, they're not going to have a clue. So it's down to the A&Rs and the, you know, the runners and just people at the bottom to pass the word, spread the real message, and let them know what's really going on out here.
You're obviously a recognised face in the urban music scene. What does Sway think that Middle England thinks of him?
That's a tough question because, like...
Can I just say, when they say tough question, that means that's a great question.
When you say Middle England, you're talking about like the commercial world, right?
So I would be talking about somebody who goes into a store and sees your record next to a Girls Aloud record.
Yeah. Well, obviously...
Mainstream England.
Obviously, back to my point about, you know, people not knowing what's good unless you're in that circle, in that family. You know what I mean? If you're not in that, like for me, having my own record company, it's near impossible to get into that family. You know what I mean? It's near impossible because I don't have that bargaining power. A lot of these majors, when they come through, they're like, okay, I've got this new artist, blah, blah, blah. If you play blah, 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 we'll give you the exclusive on Oasis next week. They're like, all right, we'll go with it. That's how you build artists. With me, it's like, I got Sway, no? Well, I got Sway, no? You're just going to keep going back and then it's going to keep saying no because you ain't got no bargaining power unless you go all around them. You got to go around them and make yourself hot everywhere else. And then they jump on it. You know what I mean? It's the same formula. It happens all the time. People always bitch and complain about the industry, but they know what's going on. People are not stupid. You can't just overnight expect these people to just open their arms and start getting everybody money. It's not going to happen. So in terms of your original question about the commercial world, I haven't been exposed to the whole of Britain. So a truck driver from Sheffield might not even know who the hell I am, but might love my music if he would have heard it on the radio that day or the day before, you understand? So it's all about getting on that platform. Once I get on that platform, I know I'm going to kill it everywhere because I do this thing properly. You know what I mean? It's about getting on that platform, you know what I mean? It's about people allow me the opportunity to come out. You have things like One Extra, Trace FM, allow it, but then a lot of other people, they need talking to still.
Okay.
Just one thing, well, two things actually, just on what was just said. One is, I don't think, you know, consumers, and you've got to assume that most consumers are, you know, you've got to give them the credit for being smart, intelligent and discerning in whatever level of society they exist, whether they're into whatever, you know, financial means they have, but no one buys a bad product. So first and foremost, you've got to remember that unless you're putting good products out there, you haven't got a chance anyway. It doesn't matter where you're from, whether it's urban or not urban, black, white, you know, yellow, pink, doesn't matter. So, and I think that's one of the things we've got to remember. We've got to remember that the first thing is that you've got to have an absolute belief in putting everything into creating great products, which I think a lot of people, you know, in this room and beyond, past, present, future, will carry on doing. I think the second part to that is how do you then make that, you know, how do you take that to a market, but also how do you, where's the kind of key point where you understand the transition between being kind of niche and celebrated and crossing over to the mainstream. And that's often a really, really difficult challenge because I think it's very hard to be celebrated as a guy that invents something or creates something cool or is leader of a kind of movement to then go, how do I actually sell out? It's a very American, you know, all our American clients love the idea of selling out. They love the idea of big and millions and hundreds of thousands and taking over the planet, and they'll just do it their way. But you know, in America you can do that because there's that many people, that many audiences and communities that can sustain multi-billion-dollar companies. We don't have those communities of that size in the UK. And so I think the challenge of breaking out and crossing over in the UK is like, am I selling out? Am I suddenly going to dilute what I've been doing all my life? And for me personally, I think it's not that at all. I think if you believe in your product and keep your product and the integrity of your product true, you can sell your product to anyone. And I think in the UK, sometimes the urban industry has got to think about how to get out to the whole country rather than sort of turn itself into a sort of inward-looking niche. And I think that's what big brands fear the most. I think most big brands don't realise or feel comfortable about what the ambition can be in the UK beyond, beyond going abroad.
Yeah, just leading on from Val's point, and just to kind of contextualise it, it is about the product. And you know, when I was writing, when we were at Touch, I didn't really support Sway until the song Products came out, because for me that was something what other people might have deemed commercial, but for me that was a track which was, you know, a bit more soulful, which a lot more people were gonna listen to. So again, just to say, it is about, you know, what you're putting out. You know, you could put out the most grimiest mixtape and the audience would have liked it, and it was like, you know, yeah, it was nice. But if you're talking about your actual product and what's going to be consumed, because again, let's just break it down, that's what it's about. You're getting a product, and we're all consumers. You know, I didn't consume Sway's product until it was something I could identify with. You know, a bit R&B, a bit more kind of laid back, something I could, you know, play in my house. You know, getting a bit old now. I went into the, like, you know, the young kind of head nodder stuff. So again, I think that's yeah, I am getting old. I think that's something, you know, again, to bear in mind when we're thinking about, you know, what we put into the mainstream, because we could keep it niche all day long, but I don't think really and truly people in here want to keep it niche. I think we want to just kind of, you know, there's nothing wrong with taking your product and letting mass, you know, people consume it, and I think that's what we should be looking to do. Otherwise, you know, we'll be, you know, bedroom DJs and making beats and just keeping it amongst our friends. I think the whole point is to get it out there. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Let's look to our audience again. In our audience, how many people do we have who own a small to medium-sized piece of intellectual property, whether they be an artist or an event promoter? I know that Charlie Sloth's here, I see Rod Gilmore as well. Who else owns a piece of urban intellectual property that they'd like to... Well, who owns one? Can I just see a show of hands first? I'm just going to pick one person out. My friend there in the red hooded top. What is it you own?
It's just a small album at the moment, just a small musical project.
Is it something that you'd like to see go mainstream?
I'm not sure. I think to go mainstream with this particular project would mean that I have to dilute it a little bit. And I'm not sure that every single artist can go mainstream without diluting their product.
Okay. Do we have an example of somebody who has a piece of intellectual property that they'd like to make mainstream? Rachel B from Impact Ventures.
Yes.
What is this product?
It's called I Love Live.
I Love Life, what is it?
It's a monthly live music event. In fact, Sway is performing at the next one in March.
A monthly live music event which Sway is performing at in March. Well done, you've got your people here. Do you feel like you know the route to make it mainstream?
Yeah, I do, but it's always difficult, isn't it? You know, we were going out on MTV every month, and they just had a round of cutbacks. So, you know, they're not going to be filming it so much, and, you know, you have to find different angles.
So Rachel mentioned that there's less routes through MTV, and she's now looking for other angles. I don't want to open up a can of worms here that we're not going to be able to retract, but what about the way wider society looks at urban when we involve things like knife crime and some of the other social factors? Do you think that those things are preventing the urban industry from becoming more mainstream or more accepted than it should be? Maybe Lawrence would be a good person to speak on this.
I don't know, I mean, because you know what happened with all the garage raves, and they just shut them down, didn't they? The police shut them down. So I suppose the answer to your question is certain things have harboured the progression. What can be done? I don't know.
Sway, is it up to cultural purveyors like yourself to maybe for every artist who's doing some social work to maybe get the house in order? That was the term that was used earlier on. Do you think that would create a better infrastructure for people like yourselves to go even further?
See, music here is it's a spiritual thing. So, like, depending on how the speed of the music, the different notes played, stuff like that, it triggers different emotions in people. Hip hop, urban music, grime. It's the style of music makes you aggressive. It's fast paced. You know what I mean? It's rapping. I mean, it makes you aggressive, and it attracts the youth. It attracts the kids. You know what I mean? The kids are not just black kids, white kids, Asian kids. It attracts all of them. Amongst they're gonna be hyperactive when they listen to this material. When they go into a club, they drink, they get into fights. They take it a bit too far. You know what I mean? And the problem is people have just aligned the fact that the music could trigger this kind of behavior to the music and seeing it as the reason. Kids don't carry a knife because of Dizzy Rascal. You know what I mean? Kids don't. You know what I mean? There's other things that are going on in their life that make them want to carry a knife. But you know, when they go to these places, they go to these parties, and everyone's amped and everyone's drunk, they end up doing silly things, and it's killing the scene. I mean, like, obviously, if you go to a place and they're playing classical music, you can't pull out a knife and start stabbing people, because it's not the kind of energy that music evokes from you. It's a spiritual thing. A lot of people don't realize that. I'm not saying music is to blame. I want people to buy my music. I would never say that. But I do understand why the children of today do have that energy. And it's all around the world. It's not just the UK.
Therefore, if it's all around the world,
It's also in rock music. It's in
No,
indie.
exactly. It's in.
I hate it when people
Not just indie, but indie's a bit softer, but rock, I totally agree with you, you know, there's places where they eat birds and stuff like that, and no, seriously.
not KFC, right?
But
If you can call that one.
the hard rock, you never really hear about that. That don't really get brought to the media as much, because it's not really the sound of the youth so much, it's more older people who know how to behave themselves after they've eaten their head.
It seems to me that if that cycle breaks, that there are a lot more opportunities for the urban space. Will that cycle ever break?
I think that the funny thing about it, I think it's the same energy that causes this kind of behaviour is the same energy that could stop it. I mean, I think it's going to take artists like myself. Like, you can't be cheesy about it. You can't tell kids all of these cheesy songs. They're getting on my nerves. All of these cheesy put down the knives and put down the gun tracks. Everybody knows you're not supposed to have a gun. I mean, you don't have to say it in a rap and people are gonna, oh, my man said it, I'm putting it down. You know, they're not gonna do that. I mean, I've got a track called Walk Away, so my album out now, signature LP. I've got a track called Walk Away where I take you into the mind of somebody who wants to carry a gun, or why people do things for a certain reason. You understand it? It's not cheesy, it's saying, you know what I mean? Like, if this happens, and that's gonna happen. That's what I'm saying. But all of this, we got to be realistic about it, and we got to address the kids in a way that is not patronising. You know what I mean? And a lot of these songs are quite patronising. These kids they're looking and laughing at these people that are rapping about for them. They're still doing it. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to take the whole industry, including people in the mainstream, to come down on a level and really start giving these youths opportunities. You know what I mean? And then when they give them the opportunities, what's the point of carrying a knife when I know I can work hard and get onto Radio 1 one day? You know what I mean?
Can I just say one thing back to my point about urban industry and definition, based on what you just said, which is that, you know, it's very easy to go urban industry and then go music or fashion. You know, America gives you lots of case studies in fashion, you know, Rockaware, Fat Farm, Sean John, the list goes on, and music similarly. You know, I think one of the things that we've got to try and understand is how we define this thing, and one of the things that's missing in the mainstream definition of the urban industry is education, right? So nobody, you know, I do work outside of my day job for the British Council, and one of the things I'm involved in is helping build cultural relations between the United Kingdom and 102 countries around the world where the British Council has offices. And their work around cultural relations covers everything from creative industries, creative including, you know, things like design, music, fashion, but also education, science, climate change. And I think sometimes if we could get people to think about urban with a slightly different face, you know, different facets of it, you know, songwriting can communicate many different things. It can be emotive, it can be spiritual, but it can also talk about things like, you know, gun crime and climate change in the same, you know, on the same album. And I think that's another thing that I feel that we've still got to, you know, there's a big forum here, and there's a great opportunity to get, you know, somebody had to give you a bit of paper and say, give me your paragraph and define the urban industry. It'd be interesting to try and find out if there's a common new way to present this industry to the rest of the world, rest of the country.
Raoul, tell me about a successful case study from your organisation where you've fused the urban space, whether it be through experiential marketing or any other exercise that you've done.
I think in terms of case studies, where, I mean, I guess the highest profile stuff we've done has involved, and it always comes back down to this, has involved really high profile role models who take a leadership position in trying to get other people to take sort of issues that don't make it onto the agenda of a big corporation. And I think role models in our industry are really critical in everything from education and you know, getting young people to understand the value of, you know, society, social behaviour, cultural interaction. And yeah, we've worked with lots of different people, and I don't, you know, Jay-Z, Bono, Damien Hirst as an example. And I think one of the things that's been amazing, and Bono's a great example because, you know, we did something with him where we needed him to basically record a 5-minute message to talk about getting young people in Ireland to take politics more seriously, because obviously in Ireland for many, many years politics was something that either people's parents dealt with, or it was very much shrouded in very high level politic, and in the days of Northern Ireland's kind of troubles, it was something that young people had nothing to, or had no role in participating in unless they were actually actively involved. And I think the thing that he did, which was amazing, despite what people say, and people say you should keep making records, I mean he does make records as well, he does use his influence amongst young people who consume his music to get messages across about things like, it's okay to be into politics, it's okay to have a point of view, it's okay to talk about other things beyond the things you do at school, with your friends, in the playground, down the pub. And I think there's something that's very motivating when you can see a direct impact between older people and role models having an impact on young people. The most obvious and simplest example we are all sort of celebrating and surrounded by is the impact that a new president of the United States has on everyone's perception of the USA. Because until a month ago, a lot of us might have liked the USA, but we hated the American government, and nobody really, unless anyone here has a huge, something to say about George Bush. I mean, I think everyone didn't like the government and the political environment of the United States, but I think we all went to cities in the US and go, this is a great place. I think suddenly the perception of the country has changed by having somebody who actually is a believable role model that's going to change, I think, a lot of things, not just at high level, but right down to what young kids believe about their country, or a country they can look at from another place.
Lawrence, let me ask you about Barack Obama, as he was just mentioned. Is he going to have an impact on the urban industry globally? And if so, how so?
He already has. I mean, he's president. He already has, and I think it's a great, obviously, like most people in here, it's a great thing, and I'm glad he was voted in. And again, it comes back to role models and education, and I'm glad Raoul picked up on that point, because that is one of the key things in developing young minds. And a lot of people, I know Carlene's here, definitely talked to her after. She runs lots of education programs, and that Sway's helped out. I work with young people, part of my week, Denise there's helped out, and the impact of people like ourselves working with young people and schooling them about life and culture, not just about music. There's a lot to be said for that, and I've been doing this a while now, and you can't quantify it, and I definitely encourage people out there. Again, Val, another great example. Sorry to call you out, but of working with young people, giving them some sort of insight, knowledge, wisdom, and trying to kind of enrich their lives. So yeah, Barack Obama is just the best thing that happened in the last, I don't know how many years, and it's gonna percolate here. I'm really sad that Noel couldn't make it today, because even when he won yesterday, I thought I kicked the cheer, because I was like, his story is absolutely amazing. From where he was to where he's come to, and there needs to be more people. That's what I'm saying. Everyone in here is a potential Noel whatever, and that's what people need to kind of look at what they do and how they can help others and educate others. So yes, I'm all for Barack.
Okay. Closing comments before we go to questions. Sway.
Buy my album twice. It's called The Signature LP. If you ain't already got the first one, it's called This Is My Demo. It's out in stores now. HMV don't close anytime soon. Seriously, man. If you want to come with me, I'll come with you after. You lot laughing, I'm not joking. We can go and buy the albums together again. I need another copy anyway.
So if anybody wants to be seen on the streets with Sway, it's going to cost you about, what, $9.99?
Yeah, the first one's gone lower now. It's like $6.99 now. The second one's still at $9.99. But we'll bring the price down after a while. We're waiting.
Yeah, I'm wondering why I asked. Okay, closing comments, Lawrence. On I guess where the future is. I mean, is there a positive future for us in this industry?
Yeah, we just need to stop being so paranoid and work together, and stop, so many people being out for themselves. Because again, I can give testimonies and examples. I work with these two guys on, you know, and there should be no common thread, me being whatever I do, these doing what I do, but we've found a way through networking and talking to help each other out and support each other. And, you know, this is, all I can say, this is proof, this is testament that it can happen. And yeah, so talk, network, help each other.
Raoul, closing comments? Oh, a round of applause, by all means. This is as much about you guys. Any closing comments about the future of this industry and where you see it going?
Sort of echo what Lawrence has said. I think you know, networking. You know, I'm a really big believer that it's important that people get around a table and see each other face to face and do stuff like this. You know, Andrew Davis, who's here somewhere. Big fan of his. You all hopefully should know this guy. If you don't, he's actually just broken away from MySpace and is now consulting on social networking. So go and talk to him because he's amazing. But you know, if you can balance what he created with MySpace with a kind of real life situation here where you can actually get some proper FaceTime and some interaction, there's nothing. You know, it's easy. I mean, I think the point that Lawrence made as well is. This doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be like who didn't turn up, and who's missing out, and who's late. Get people around the table. I mean, the art of conversation, the art of exchanging ideas, the art of sharing things, the art of helping other people without doing more than, you know, spending 2 hours and having a drink. It's not complicated. You know, everyone's very smart, everyone's intelligent, everyone's got a lot to offer. And sometimes, you know, emails and phone calls and all that stuff doesn't take that stuff forward. You know, every time I get someone, you know, you get people phoning you, just assuming that because they look at my client list, I'm just sitting there with loads of clients going, "Well, I'll help us spend £1 million." It just doesn't work like that, you know. But getting a client of mine next time to one of these things, which I'll do, try and get lots of them here, is much easier because I think they'd walk out of here thinking very differently about an opportunity that they didn't even think existed. Because however many times we go, and I mean, you're a great example of, you know, what Nike have done, you know, fantastically in a space where, you know, I very recently have had a whirlwind education about the move of how Nike have taken something as, you know, fundamental as dance and turned it into something that's perceived in their organisation as sport. You know, there's a lot of great examples out there, but a lot of them are just about connecting the right people. And I think the best way to do it is this. So, particularly Ara and yourself and the rest of your team, thanks for doing it, and let's do it again.
Do we have any questions? If you're close enough, I'll bring the mic to you. I'll certainly do my best. If you're not, then I'll just repeat your question if I can hear it. Yes, please.
From each of them to define urban.
The lady's name is?
Eunice.
A question from Eunice. 3 words from each of the panelists to describe what urban is.
I don't like defining things because how I define something or interpret something is totally different to how someone else does.
I think we just want yours.
3 words.
I'm just Guardian, sorry, Guardian background, straight to the kill. I'm sorry.
Alright, cutting edge culture.
Okay, great. Rob.
Yeah, given that I did sort of raise the issue of definition, yes, I think we've run out of time, haven't we? Actually, you know, I think this is not going to be a 3-word answer, unfortunately. Get to know me, nothing ever is. I think the one thing that, you know, we and this industry has a lot of is enthusiasm and passion. And I always say to people at work, if you're interviewing people for a job, you know, you can never ever buy passion and enthusiasm. You can buy kind of, you know, smart textbook, education, academia, everything else, but people who are enthusiastic and passionate are hard to find. And when you channel that, it's kind of unstoppable. I think that's what the urban industry has, you know, going for it in terms of definition. I think perception-wise, people think it's angry, and I think it's something that has to be changed. So I think, you know, you've got to look, when you define something, it's always useful to look at how people look at it from the outside. And I think people think it's scary and angry, and I don't know why that is and where that comes from, but that's a kind of truth which, you know, has to be dispelled in terms of how you repackage it and, you know, redefine it.
Thank you for that. Is there any other questions? The lady in the back with the glasses, what's your name?
Remy.
Where are you from, Remy?
I'm from Association of Independent Music.
Association of Independent Music, which is AIM, I believe, right? With the yellow and blue. Okay, what's your question, my friend?
My question is, there's been a demise of maybe some of the traditional media, so a couple of magazines and things were mentioned and stations were mentioned that have now been swallowed up by bigger companies, gone out of business. What do the panel think are the opportunities for people to actually get to their customers these days, given that a lot of maybe the magazines and radio stations, FM's going to go off, pirate radio is going to be missing from the scene once it all goes digital? What do you think of the new opportunities for actually getting to the customer?
If anybody didn't hear the question, it was talking about the demise of magazines and media. It could be an opportunity, it could be a threat, I guess, but magazines disappearing, what's the future?
Internet.
I've heard of it, what is that? No, carry on.
Yeah, simple. Internet. I mean, we're now in a position where, you know, again, it's down to packaging and how you present yourself. You know, it's so accessible, and you know, until I don't know the industry changes itself, then you know, I'm a big fan. I think you just can get everything you need from it, and consumers, most people, I bet everyone in here has a computer, has access to a computer, so it's internet, simple.
Remy, does that answer your question?
Yeah, good answer.
Do you think that the internet will pick up where magazines left off, the few magazines that are left that are on their way to the graveyard? I didn't mention any in particular, trust me, I'm good at this. My lawyer said.
I think there's opportunities there, but I think it is really hard to make money out of it. I think it seems to be much more difficult for people to actually build up a good size, be they internet radio or blogs and things like that, and actually professionalise it. So that's something that I would really like to see emerging.
One thing that triggered a thought in my head. Sway, does a lot of your money come from live shows?
Yeah.
Is there any event promoters, I know there are some, but I'm not going to call them out, any live promoters or event promoters that might want to speak on any threats they're facing? If the artists feel that a big part of their earnings come from live shows, are the promoters facing any threats that might lead to a demise there?
Threats like how?
I beg your pardon?
Threats like how? How do you mean?
Okay, so Rod Gilmore, threats like additional police security, more difficult to get venues because of minimum bar spends being traditionally, I've been told, less by this demographic.
I think it threatens people who are starting up and coming through, which isn't necessarily a good thing because that encourages competition and the growth of the scene. But I think as long as you're professional and you've got your house in order, which seems to be kind of something of a theme tonight, then generally, as long as you approach things professionally, then people will approach you professionally.
Okay, great. Any other questions from, maybe a final one or two questions? My friend with the red top, what's your name?
Name's Rod from 2020 Hip Hop Radio.
Okay.
Make it easy here.
Yeah,
question to the panel, but Sway in particular. Sway, earlier you mentioned, you know, for example, if a program director wants to know what's hot on the streets of, you said Tottenham, they go to the A&R. Well, the A&R's obviously got to go to their producers and their contacts, and the producer and the contacts got to go to the artist, and it works like that. There's a kind of chain. And without wanting to delve into cliche here, how do you think you break that chain? How do you get past the tastemakers that are the inevitable result of that chain?
How do you get past the tastemakers?
Yeah.
You become one of them. You know what I mean? Simple. Like, perfect example, my boy Scars over there. You know what I mean? He's been working with the jump off. He knows what's hot on the streets. He's from the streets. He's been around. He signed Tipsy Strider, took him to a major organisation, gave him that platform to shine. Man, I've got a number 3 with his record. You know what I mean? It's that simple. You know what I mean? Any other way, you wouldn't have been able to get that chart position. You know what I mean? So people like Scars, people like yourself, people like people in this room need to become part of them organisations. That's how you get past them. You got to beat them you got to join them to beat them. You know what I mean?
Just going slightly back to that internet point.
What's your name and where you from?
Summit and Hip Hop Chronicle. My voice is really bad, I've been really ill.
No
but
problem.
Going back to the internet thing, there is a lot of money to be made on the internet. I think sites in the States, whether it be All Hip Hop, Narai, Real Talk, NY, they get contacts with music labels. When it comes to promotion like the Notorious movie, Narai had a great promotion with the Notorious movie. They got money for that. Do you know what I mean? So there's great potential. And for like your point about how do you get filtered down? People have these blogs. Like I have my own blog, and I've been doing it myself for 10 months, and it's just going skyrocketing. I get a lot of love in the States, whether it be Alright, or hip hop DX. But here it's not that much. But I know what's hot. Well, I like to think I know what's hot. And I like to promote upcoming talent, no matter who it is. As long as they're dope, it's good. And it's like Sway said, the people know what's hot. The DJs know what's hot. So these people who are at the top, if they don't know, or if they're in a certain circle, they need to look at these top blogs, and they can recognize talent. They're in that position for a reason. Do you know what I mean? So they should be able to see what's hot, who's coming up, why they're good, how we can market that. Right now, that needs to be breaking down. In America, they've embraced blogs in a big way. Social networking sites like Facebook, Twitter, they've embraced it in a huge way. We need to go into that slowly. We get on. I think, Sway, you got a blog now, right? Yeah? Everyone's got, all these artists have got a blog. The reason why is because they can connect with their fans in a different way. Look at Charlie Sloth, what he's done with World Star, getting 250,000 hits on an episode. Do you know what I mean? That's great exposure. I went to New York recently. One of the few people that they know in America, in New York especially, is Charlie, Sway, and Dizzy. They ain't heard of Skinny Man, Black Twang, or any of these, they ain't heard Tinchy Strider. They ain't heard any of these people. They're DJ Semtex and Shorty Blitz. That's it. That's all they know. And Estelle, of course, but that's 6 people. I was amazed. I was like, you guys don't know any of these people? These people are legends here. Some of them obviously like Skinny Man and Black Twang. So the internet is a great tool. It's a fantastic tool. And we need to embrace it in a huge way. And there is definitely money to be made, because I'm doing it, and there is money to be made.
So what we've just seen an example there, I don't know if any of you picked up on that, is somebody from the audience asking the question, being answered by the panel, and also being answered by the audience. So what I would please encourage you all to do is stick around. We're gonna put the music back on in a second. Stick around, network. The key things where we need to get our house in order today, and we need to do a lot more networking. So do not just exit straight away. Be here to connect. Be here to be connected. And when you do decide to leave, which hopefully is in a little while from now, not immediately, please hand your badges in for recycling at the front door. Is there anything else that I need to cover? If I can get a round of applause for our panelists today, please. Loris Clark, Loris Latte, and Slow By My Album. Okay, guys, we hope you can all stick around, and please get a drink and a bit of a bar spend as well. We'd appreciate it. Do some networking. Thank you.
That's good. That was good. I thought tonight was a great opportunity for everybody to get together, network, and introduce each other and work together in the urban world.
I thought the event was really good. I think it's good to see everyone come together. It's long overdue, and I hope it's the start of something really big.
Yeah, Manny Norte, aka the name you can trust. I'm here networking. We're in the heart of central London, and basically I thought it was a very good event. What's being said was good, and the important time is the now time, when everyone's speaking, getting to know each other, because sometimes you don't really get everyone in the same place. You might see who they are, you might get them on a phone, or an email, but here you can actually speak to people. So the important thing is, if you have something good to say, there's an opportunity here to speak to some important people.
Hopefully, same time, same place next month. Do it again. Don't give up. Invite the same people. Because I think the same people need to build on what we've seen today. And the more we build on it, the further we'll get into it, and the more solutions and opportunities we'll unearth. So thanks to everyone that organised it, and I'll be back.
Fantastic event, very good networking. I made a lot of contacts with both people who've been in the industry for a long time and some people who are new to it as well, so well done, excellent event.
Well done to the organisers for getting us all out here, because it's all good to communicate and that, but get the decision makers on the panel so we can blast them when we want to get their song playlisted and they can't. Alright? Peace.
We need to have more of this kind of networking event, because today I came in here, I only knew about a few people, now I've met so many people. You need to always have an event like this, even if it's once a month. That would be so fantastic. We need this.
I like the emphasis on connecting people. To me, connection is important, because as an industry, we don't engage enough. I actually run a quarterly music round table, and I like the idea of people just actually talking to each other face to face, not email, not telephone. I've met so many interesting people here tonight, people that I've heard of but never met, and it was such a nice forum to be able to actually talk to these people, tell them about what I do and what they do, and actually seriously think about how we can work together in the future.
This is something that we need in the UK every week, possibly every day. For me to come out here and get so much exposure, what's happening in the industry is just amazing. Conversations are very, it's a powerful tool, and we need more of this. We look around here, not one person here is a time waster. And that's what I like about this event. I'm coming back tomorrow. Are you going to have it tomorrow? Yeah. I'm coming back. The next one, then the one after that. UK needs this. Eddie Caddy said it. Get it!